welcome to episode 2 of the Gaming Lounge podcast. I'm your host Sebastian, and I'm joined by Dory. How you doing, Dory?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Awesome. So today we have a lot of news to talk about. It's a lot of craziness this week. It was the apocalypse on Twitter.
Yep, pretty much.
It was really entertaining to watch. I was sick this week, so that's what got me through this week. Seeing the reactions on Twitter and the forums.
Yep.
Just reading everybody's like what they think's gonna happen. But we'll talk about it at the end of the show. What I want to start off with is the new Yakuza game, Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, which Dory you have beaten, right?
I beat just last night, so
Nice.
it took me pretty much exactly like 2 weeks to beat. It took me around 50-ish hours. I want to say 50, 51, and that's really good because that's what they said it would take. If you, if you're trying to just finish the story. I mean, I did a lot of the side quests, not all of them. I think there was one where you're a stuntman. I didn't do that one because it was really annoying. The collision detection was really bad on that one. So after 3 attempts, I gave up. But generally speaking, I did just about every side quest I could. Did about every drink link, which you can do in the original Like a Dragon, which is where you get certain benefits like chain attacks and attack enemies who are down and increase attacks, stuff like that. I did just about all the drink links except for like one party member who you get like towards the end of the game. I don't know why they did that. So I've beaten it last night. I will say it's probably the best Yakuza game. I think the only one that comes close, and I'm not a Yakuza connoisseur. I haven't played 1 through 6. I played 0. I played Man Who Erased His Name. I played Ishin. I played Like a Dragon, the original one from 2020, and I've played this. So I know my Yakuza, but I'm not, and I don't have the patience to go back. I'm just maybe someday I'll play Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2, but I don't think I'll ever have the patience to play 3, 4, and 5 or in 6 or whatever.
I'm not sure you have to anymore because I feel like they're in the new this. I think Like a Dragon, the first one, was made for a new generation of Yakuza fans.
Yes, this is absolutely, and this is it's basically, this isn't a spoiler. It's in the trailers. They've been talking about it openly. This is basically Kiryu's swan song, for his run as the Dragon of Doshima. So it's a really loving tribute to Yakuza. Is I think the highest praise I can give to it. There are definitely some moments that miss for me just because I lack the context. There are certain characters that we meet as Kiryu, and there are certain characters that we see, and I didn't quite get a lot out of that because I don't know these characters. But they explain who they are to Kiryu, why they mean so much, and why you should care. And every single time I was like, okay, I'm in. So yeah, it was about a 50-hour game. I always love the way that Yakuza games are written. I think they're very cleverly written. I know some people think they're a little too twisty-turny with too many surprises and stuff. I love that stuff if done well. I've always thought, for as long as I've been playing Yakuza games, that the twists are almost always very well executed, or at least done well enough that I can believe them. It's not M. Night Shyamalan level twists. Well, more of his later twists, rather, I should say. It's really good writing. The characters are all really fleshed out. The Japanese dialogue, I don't know why anyone would do anything else, but if you really want to put that in yourself, go ahead. I guess there are English options, but I don't play Yakuza in English. Are just incredible. I mean, all the voice actors are incredible. And I mean, everybody just does a sensational job. Everybody's, does a really great job. Thinking about it and talking about it reminds me a little bit of Baldur's Gate, because every single character is voiced really well. Not all the NPCs are voiced, unlike Baldur's Gate, but pretty much every character that you would care about or need to care about are voiced very well. There's some language things that are going on in this game because you're playing your Kasuga and you're in Hawaii. So ostensibly everyone around you is speaking American, but because I have the Japanese audio on, a lot of very obviously white people are just fluently speaking Japanese. Now, to be clear, the population of Hawaii, I looked this up, is half Japanese or whatever. There's a big population excuse me, of Japanese people who live there. So it's at the start, it's not unrealistic that this many people would know Japanese.
That's because a lot of our military base, our Navy is in Hawaii, and they interact with the Pacific.
Absolutely, so yeah.
There's a connection.
And so, and a lot of Japanese people have Hawaiian heritage, and vice versa. So at the start of the game, it doesn't seem that unrealistic that some people would know fluent Japanese. But by the time you get to the end of the game, it's like, all right, that little kid who's about as blonde haired and white as she could possibly be does not know how to fluently speak Japanese. Like, I'm sure about that. So it does get a little ludonarrative dissonance kind of thing. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, you just have to like
you just have to accept it. It's in Japanese audio.
It's
Yakuza, the same problem exists. The same problem exists if you're do the American dub, because if you do that, then Kasuga's like, everyone's speaking American, I can't understand anybody. Meanwhile, Kasuga's speaking fluent American the whole game, right? But that's just how it is.
It's the same game where like people transform into like slippery guys with like rafts and like,
exactly. It's like it doesn't matter. I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
It's not a big criticism. It's just funny.
Yeah.
I will say probably my biggest criticism of the game is unfortunately the end game, which happens a lot in RPGs. Now I will say the difficulty spikes are not really here for the most part. There are a couple nasty difficulty spikes in the original that I don't really like, and they give you no warning about. But in this game, there's not really any difficulty spikes. You don't really have to grind. I say not really because on the very last boss, I won't like spoil anything, but I will say for both of the final missions, they do not give you recommended levels. So I'm going to say right here, make sure you are level 48 to 50 if you are going to fight those guys. Because I came in like level 45, 46, pretty naturally. I hadn't really grinded. But I got my ass handed to me. I was lucky enough to power through the grunts and stuff and level up that way. But ultimately, I had to use some pre-order bonuses. I had to use some stuff to level up people's jobs, and I got like Kiryu up to 50, and yada yada. So, and then I handedly beat the boss. So a couple of levels in this game can make a big difference. So just keep that in mind. I don't know why they don't give you recommended levels for literally the last two missions of the game. They don't give you, because they do that throughout the game. They say recommended level, for example, 36, how many stars your weapon should have out of 6. I think it's out of 6, maybe 7 at most, is like 4 or 5, whatever. But they don't do that for the last two missions, and it can lead to some very unnecessary difficulty spike, I guess. If they had just done that, I think it would have been a lot better for me. But yeah, I had to use my pre-order bonuses, and I was able to handedly beat the boss after that.
What level were you at for the final boss?
Like I said, I went in, and I think Kiryu, who was my highest leveled, was 45, 46, and by the time he got to the top of the building that the final boss was in, we were like 48, and he was like 52. And like I said, even a couple of levels can make a big difference. So I almost got him a couple times. I got him to like 25% health, but then his action economy just completely outspent mine, and I just couldn't keep up at all. But yeah, that's my, and I will also say, once you do beat the game, I don't know, I personally didn't feel that satisfied with it. It's not bad. It's not poorly written or anything, and it's not like anything out of character happens. It just felt like there should have been more. It felt a little short to me. I did skip the credits, but it was just the credits. It wasn't like there was no scenes going on while the credits were playing, as far as I know. It did seem kind of a weak finale, but I will say overall, my favorite Yakuza game, the best Yakuza game. I would give it a 5 out of 5, even with those two criticisms, because I think overall the game is just an excellent turn-based RPG. It's got the heart of Yakuza. I mean, Kasuga is wonderful as always. Characters are excellent. The dialogue is excellent. The combat's addictive. I would frequently go out of my way to complete side quests and to complete dungeons that I did not have to do. Had no real reason to do. And I would, even when, just like in the last game, when you're in certain dungeons, you can go to the next floor as long as you found the elevator. But I would frequently turn around, go back, actively look for enemies to fight, because I love that combat system. It is incredibly well done. Definitely better than the first game, although I do miss the kind of tactical thing where if you walked in front of an enemy, they would hit you from behind or something. It was kind of annoying, but I also kind of miss it. So yeah, I don't know. I know, Seb, you didn't get to play this as much as I did. I didn't know if you had any thoughts from what little you've played.
I didn't get that far, but the visuals are really awesome. Especially when he's on the beach, like the sunrise was the sunset was really beautiful to look at. The water in this game looks fantastic. Looks
Yes.
very good.
I can't even count how many screenshots I took while I was playing. The game just looks incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And like it's an RPG, turn-based RPG. So I was naturally like fighting literally everybody I see. Like I was never fast traveling. I was always just running around and fighting. Just so I kept grinding my levels up.
Yeah.
From what I was playing, pretty easy game so far. I feel like I had zero issues, but like you said, later on.
I'm talking end game stuff, so nothing you're anywhere near.
But for so far, like I could just I don't know. Maybe the first game felt like it was a little harder. From what I'm playing,
I'd agree with that.
This one seems easier, which is not a problem, of course.
Yeah.
The story is amazing,
and there's always the difficulty levels, as well if you need more of a challenge. Yeah, I mean, you think about it, the water is something really they had to nail given the setting. But even then, I mean, just incredibly well done. I've never seen like water that looks that good. I'm trying to think of what else. The segue. You get a segue about a quarter through the game. It's pretty handy. It even has an auto feature. So if you just plot a point on a map, you could just press I'm doing this because it's like the right trigger. But it's like the right trigger and it'll just autopilot you all the way there and you don't even need to press a button. It is a little finicky sometimes. Sometimes you get caught up on objects or environment or your teammates. That did happen to me every now and then. There's some side games that I got super into, like the Animal Crossing knockoff, Dondoko Island. First off, full disclosure, not an Animal Crossing person, not my kind of game. I don't really care for those kind of games, generally speaking. There's some exceptions, I think, with what's that game that you were on a boat? I can't remember, but it was a few years ago. Kim loved it too. But anyway, generally speaking, I'm not into like management games or resort management, but I loved this a lot. I didn't love it for like stylizing the island or anything, but just to see my level go up. You also get a ton of money if you get your Dondoko Island resort. Certain amount of stars, and the systems that feed into each other are so addictive and easy and like fun to do, and so varied that I mean, I think I spent 3 hours in total in there. So my game time probably is under 50 hours in terms of like actually beating the story. But yeah, just an incredible thing. There is a Pokemon like called Sujimon. Ironically, I didn't get into that. I played it once and I was like, yeah, I don't see the appeal really. I'd rather just play the normal turn-based. Like it's basically turn-based, but I'm controlling the people. But it's like, but I'm already doing that in the normal gameplay. Why would I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's something that you'll be into because I know, you also love Pokemon, but it wasn't for me. Ironically, the Animal Crossing was. There's also Crazy Taxi like. I only played it once, but it was fun. I had a good time, a crazy time, one might say. The side quests are awesome. Pretty much every single one hits. I think. Let's see. No, I cried mostly at the main story. I think I cried twice at the main story. But yeah, it's a very moving story. But side stories, I don't think any of them like emotionally got me. But a lot of them are wacky fun and very heartwarming. A couple of them I was like, oh, well, that was nice. I mean, overall, this is just an incredible game to start off 2024 with. I wasn't sure about Infinite Wealth. I knew I'd like it because I love Like a Dragon, but I didn't think it'd be a 5 out of 5 for me, but it is. I do have some small problems here and there, but I don't think any of them are so big that, that they really outweigh my love for the game, which is very strong. Highly recommend this game. Even for the 60 or 70 bucks it was, I think I completely got my money's worth. I played this for 2 weeks straight. and Banishers is just about to come out. So I mean, I have no complaints. Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely some issues here and there, but I think overall, if you like the last game, definitely go play this game. Even if you haven't played other Yakuza games besides Like a Dragon, I think this game does a really good job of getting you invested in Kiryu's story, getting you invested in Kasuga's story. The motivations for the characters make a lot of sense. Oh, and this game also taught me how to hate VTubers. So that's a little interesting fun fact. Really, really don't like VTubers because of this game. Not really. But yeah, if you play the game for, I mean, even a few hours, you'll see what I mean. There's a lot about online reputation and getting canceled and redemption and lots of stuff that I think a lot of people unfortunately can relate to in today's day and age, where everybody's online and a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, some people rightly, get super just overloaded with other people's opinions and get canceled or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the story does tackle a lot of those themes, which I thought was very timely and important and interesting, and definitely made the point too that yeah, some people, especially like politicians and businesses that are operating in the shadows of society at times and doing really awful shit, should get called out from it. But yeah, I just thought this was a really great game. I don't think I have too much more to say. Besides that, just make sure, reiterate level 48 to 50, I would say, for the final bosses. I was even able to do, on Kasuka's side, I don't want to say too much, but basically the final missions are split into two, with one being led by Kasuga, one being led by Kiryu. I don't really think that's much of a spoiler. Basically with Kasuga, I was able to stay at the level I was at, which was like 45, 46, and I was able to squeak by and do it. Kiryu's is a lot tougher. That one absolutely be like upper 40s, lower 50s, and I think you'll be fine. I was level 50 with all my allies level 47 to take on Kiryu's final boss, and I not wiped the floor, but I handedly beat him. It was a challenge, but I never felt like I was in danger after I used the pre-order items. So if you have those pre-order items and you're struggling at the end, I mean, use them. That's what I did. Instead of banging my head up against the wall.
Gotcha. So you ready to move on?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, incredible game. I mean, first game I played out of 2024, and it's a total banger. And it's currently my game of the year, but it's literally February, so I can calm down.
Yeah, I mean, this year's already crazy stacked. Like, I have 5 games I bought ready to just be played, and just when I feel better, I'll go through them. This is gonna be one of them, of course. I'd be surprised if this game's not in my top 10 by the end of the year.
I think it should definitely be at least in your top 5, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so this week's news is very PlayStation heavy again. PlayStation's just been around. We went from PlayStation being radio silent to being the conversation. Yeah. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is the rumored Uncharted remake, which is apparently being worked on. This is not a total surprise considering they remade The Last of Us Part 1 from the ground up and then remastered Part 2. So it's in line with Naughty Dog's doing right now. And I can understand it's bad optics because people want to see a new IP, Last of Us Part 3. Yeah. They don't want to see another remake of a classic Naughty Dog game, but I'm totally into it. I love Uncharted. The first game, I won't say it doesn't age well at all. I would say it does age well. It plays I think a person can play it and have fun with it. It just doesn't age as well as if you play 4 or Lost Legacy or something. It shows its age because it came out in 2007, I believe. So
yeah, something like that.
And I think that where it shows its age is the difficulty spikes are horrendous.
Absolutely dreadful, especially at the end game.
Especially in crushing difficulty. You could basically get one-shotted, and and that's not really good in a game where the action is the main focus. That you have to hang on the ledge and shoot, and if someone hits you once, you die. So yeah, but what do you think of this news?
Yeah, I've definitely been one to be critical of Naughty Dog lately, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of their decisions. This is got to be their least controversial decision in a while to me. Look, guys, I know that Father Time is not kind to any of us, and we are inexorably moving towards our demise. Sorry to get heavy for a second. The mid 2000s were a long time ago now. They were a long time. 2005 was almost 20 years ago. I know that's not exactly when it came out, but like this game is old as shit. And I think it's fine that it's being remade. I honestly do. I went back, I played Uncharted a few years ago before the 2020s, so probably 2010s, late 2010s. Yeah, like Seb says, it doesn't age super well. It's still fun, but there are parts that just make you just side eye. Like, why would they make it this difficult? So
I think 2 is what really brought it, like made the Uncharted
for sure
become what it is today. Like I think 2 is the one that introduced like all the cinematic third person action that we think of when we think of Uncharted. I mean, the opening scene where he's hanging on the train still holds up today as one of the greatest opening sequences in video game history. The first game starts off on a boat, and we don't really know the characters, and it's basically just learning how to cover and shooting. So there's a lot of elements of the first game that I think people don't really think about. I think the first game is the one that people don't think about they think about the least. Like, even though I think a lot of people like the first one better than the third one. I
would say that, yeah. I personally feel like that.
But I feel like a lot of people remember third one more just because like it has like the how he met Sully background, like those kind of things.
It's got that awful twist at the end too with Sully. We think Sully's dead, but he's not actually dead because he's drugs.
Yeah. So I'm saying is the third one might be worse, but the third one has more memorable moments. I think the first one's the forgettable one.
Yeah, probably.
I think the thing about that game too is the enemies in that game was like, it was always kind of weird because you don't think about Uncharted, but Uncharted has a lot of supernatural elements, and it's like like those monsters that were like at the end, and there's some scary. Scary at the end.
Yeah, like Naughty Dog could never make up their mind about the tone of Uncharted, whether it was supposed to have supernatural elements or not. They went back and forth on it a lot. And I think even like they waffled a little bit in Uncharted 3 because they were like, "Oh, it's just the drugs and the smoke," and you know, I don't know. It was like fucking Scooby-Doo over there, but with a lot more guns and death. Yeah, I mean, the main reason I don't have a big issue with this is because, excuse me. The reason I don't have a big issue with this is just because, you know, when they remastered, The Last of Us, I thought that was fine because it had been out a few years ago. You know, it came out, I think, like early in the PS4 or late in the PS3 or something like that. And it was, it seemed fine. I was fine with it, and I think it was a pretty reasonable price.
It was like a year after. It was like within a year PS4 came out.
Yeah, it was like within a year. It was like it just felt like an update, and like I just don't have strong opinions about it. When they decided to remake it, I was like, okay, this seems a little unnecessary because like honestly, the remaster still looks really good, and I don't really think it needed to be remade, especially since they didn't change anything with the combat, which is the biggest problem in that game. I mean, I say problem, you know, it's one of my all-time faves, but still.
Plus, the remastered is the one I think people. I don't know. I feel like the PS4 version is the one that most people played. Like
it's definitely the one I played.
Yeah, because I think that one sold like crazy numbers.
Yeah,
and because I mean, don't get me wrong, when it was on PS3, it was considered a masterpiece and one game of the year and all that. But the PS4 version is what like people's first time playing it. That's what drew everybody in. So you're right, and it still holds up, and it was very accessible. It was on the service and Plus service and all that. So it was weird for them to remake the first game. It just was no point, but.
And then now money. To do it again with the second one with Last of Us Part 2 and remaster. I mean, as if that game
was a remaster. That was a remaster. I mean, the first one wasn't. They called it. So that's the thing is they called Part 1 a remaster. That was a remake. Right. That was built from the ground up.
Yes, so, I know.
Except for the gameplay, it was
for sure.
It was weird. It was a remaster remake at the same time.
Yeah, things are getting so blurry sometimes with this stuff. But anyway, my point is. Those felt a bit iffy in justification for me. And you know, fair enough that the download by itself is $50 if you don't have the original for the sequel. I mean, And if you do, it's only $10. I mean, I think that's a reasonable price point, but it's still kind of tainted for me because it feels like you said, Naughty Dog should be focusing on new IPs at this point. Now, I mean, part of that is here with the Uncharted, if this is even true. But like, it doesn't upset me as much because, like you said, Uncharted is what, 15 years old or something like that, like a ridiculous amount of time.
Older than that.
Yeah, I'm actually looking it up right now just to see when it came out. 2007. Yeah.
17 years.
17 years. Yeah. So a long ass time ago.
Wait,
It's
Wait, my math's off. Yeah, I think it's 17.
Yeah, that'd be 17, right?
Yeah, I'm making sure.
3, 13. We're gonna struggle with math here. 2007 plus 3 is 2010.
13 plus 4.
17.
Yeah.
14 plus 3. All right. Anyway, that's our math section for the day, everybody. Times
2 to the second power.
That's right. So it's 17 years, and I think it's okay to remake games that came out literally 17 years ago. I just wish they would focus. Like, look, if it's one part of the studio that's focusing on this and one part's working on, Last of Us Part 3 or the new IP or whatever, it doesn't stress me, but we don't know yet. If it's not, if it's the whole, if it's all of them, which I doubt. I mean, Naughty Dog's a pretty big company at this point. So I doubt it, but that would bother me a little more because it's like, okay, guys, like Uncharted's cool and I'll probably play it, but like I don't feel like we need this, and I feel like you got to be focusing on new IP more. So yeah, I don't know. That's my take. It's kind of a shrug, and it's like, well, this is the least offensive thing they've done in a while in terms of remakes and remasters. So I guess I'm okay with it.
I don't get too upset about remakes, even though the optics are not great for Naughty Dog. It's just that their small teams work on it. It's not like the whole studio goes all hands on deck and makes it. It's like it's just a little section of people. Usually get like the new guys in there to work on it, get them some practice with programming and everything. So it's not the worst thing, and it makes money. Like I said, the first game. I mean, even the first game, I had a lot of awesome like visual moments where I came out when I was like a freshman in high school, and my friends and I played it on the PS3, and it was really an awesome game. Like, it was like one of those first games. It was like wow, games can be cinematic. So, I will be day one, assuming this is real. I'm gonna assume this is $70. So I would pay $70 unless it looks like, if it doesn't meet the quality of Last of Us Part 1, then maybe not. But if it has that kind of Naughty Dog quality to it, I will definitely buy it day one. So
what was I forget? I know we both looked at the tweet, but what was the source? It was like in the gaming code or something like that, or I forget exactly what it was.
A guy data mined it.
That's right.
From like a 2020 build of The Last of Us Part 2, and he found like a bunch of code that basically implies Uncharted.
Okay, right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's wild. People who do that kind of stuff with data, that's just blows my mind. But yeah, I mean, I'll look out for it if it happens. Then I mean, I'm at least somewhat interested. I'd like to have a better experience with the Uncharted one. I think Uncharted one's just okay. It has some good moments, but man, it's really held back by the fact that it was made 17 years ago now. So 16 and some change if you want to get really technical. But yeah, a long time ago. So yeah, it doesn't bother me as much. And like you said, they probably only have a small team working on this, and it doesn't impact their new IP. But if that's the case, then show us something. Show us something, tell us something. Just a title or a working title even, or some kind of teaser, something to show us that you're not just stuck in a perpetual loop of remasters and remakes. That would be great. Because I don't mean to make it seem like I'm inherently against remasters and remakes. I'm not. And like I said last podcast, they're good for the preservation of video games. But like at the same time, it's like eventually you got to make some new shit, and like you can't just keep banking on old stuff, right? I mean, like imagine, doing like 20 years of a franchise only to come out with a complete buggy mess that somehow still sells all around the world and convinces your corporate overlords to make a new one with a different color or diamond. Anyway, yeah, that was a Pokemon joke. So anyway, that would be wild, right? Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. This is cool. I mean, I might be day one, depending on like what it looks like and how it plays. But like, I love the Uncharted series 2 and 4. Some of my favorite PlayStation games of all time, and 1, 3, and Lost Legacies. They certainly exist. They are there. They do be a video game. So yeah.
Yep. So let's move on to the state of play that happened this week, which was entirely for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The part 2 of the remake that comes out at the end of this month. I already have it pre-ordered. Got it for $10. I cashed in I had some money in my PlayStation wallet, so I was able to get it for $10. From the state of play that we got, it looks like probably my game of the year. I know it's only February. The game's not even out yet. But from what I'm seeing, it looks like a huge step up from the first one, and the first one was great. Like there's so much in this content in this game from what I'm seeing, and the visuals are just jaw-dropping. They were in the first game, but this is like you can tell this game was made for the PS5. In comparison to the first one, there's so much going on here, and it's especially exciting to me because I know the original very well. I've beaten it 6 times. It's my top 3 games of all time. Like, almost everything in this trailer I got the reference of. And I'm like, oh my god, it's that person. Oh my god, it's that character. Oh my god, it's that villain. It's that enemy. It's that level. It's that theme song. We'll talk about the music. Cause they actually talk about that for like 30 seconds in their presentation. I don't know. Obviously, you don't want me to spoil anything for you, so I'll try to keep it very vague about who's who, right? Like, I don't want to say, oh, this is what this happened. This is gonna happen. Because even though I think they're gonna change some things, I still think they're gonna largely stay the same, like in terms of like the main stuff. So I'll try to dance around it. So let's start with the trailer, like the very first the trailer they started off with. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was awesome. Look, as a background for people who don't know, I played Final Fantasy VII when I was very young. Long story short, didn't beat it. Skill issue. I was 9. And I'm not going back to it. I am going to play the long game, and I'm just going to play the remakes. So I have no idea what the fuck happened. I mean, I know one important thing that's probably going to happen in this game. But besides that, I'm just picking flowers in a church, and I'm just, I don't know what's going on. Until that sword just right through this stuff. Anyway, so besides that, I don't know what's happening in this game, and even that, I don't know if that's happening, because Nomura says he's even more worried about how people are going to respond to this game.
Well, since you kind of already said it, I think the way that the music they're setting up her singing and the music and everything seems like a finale.
Yes. It does
to me. Like it feels like it,
yeah.
I feel like that's where it's gonna end. I feel like that's a great.
But Seb, let's talk about what's important, right? We get to start the polycule officially. You can take Tifa out on dates, and you can take Aerith out on dates. So Sephiroth can fucking go sulk over about his Genova and his mom or whatever the hell, and we can go on fucking polycule dates. I'm so excited.
You can do that in the original too, and you can even take Barrett out if you want. So
nice.
There is a scene where Barrett and Cloud get stuck like on the
carousel, right? I think I've seen that. I've seen that image before. That's so funny. Yep.
To me, I always ship Cloud with Tifa. I think that's because they're childhood friends, and I always shipped Aerith and Zack.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah.
That's the right way to go. Yeah.
You can definitely go with Aerith, and
I mean, if you're feeling adventurous, you can ship Zack with Aqua. I mean, that could be, anyway. Very niche.
In a different universe
reference. Yeah. Hey, look, he's already universe hopping. Why not?
That's true.
But anyway, no. About the trailer. Look, it looks really good. The graphically looks incredible. I'm excited about running around on chocobos. I'm really excited about finding out about the golden saucer and what it's all about. It looks like a really cool area to just do a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh my god, you don't even know.
The mini games look really fun.
It's Vegas.
I don't know if I'll get into that card game that they really want me to try. I never get into those side games. They always want me to play these fucking collectible things with cards, and and buttons and pins, and I'm like, I just want to like fucking hit people with my big sword. But I'm a simple person. But it looks really good. I mean, I don't really have too much to say about the trailer. A, because honestly, I don't remember it at this point. B, I did play the demo, which we'll talk about, and I think it has the same trailer. I know that Vincent, I think it's Vincent, right? He's in the game. Is that his name, Vincent?
Yes.
Yes. He's got like the red cape and shit. I was
like
paranoid. I was getting his name wrong.
He's my favorite character. Well, he's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
He's always in my party. Always.
It looks like a really good time. You get to play as Red 13. He's not just support anymore. It's an open world. It looks like all of the sectors will be seamless between each other. And yeah, I mean, it just looks like a ball, honestly. This could be my goatee for sure, and could be better than Yakuza, just because I have more attachment to these characters than I do to the Yakuza character, although my attachment to the Yakuza character is very high as well.
Yeah, so this game is open world like the original was, but this is obviously bigger, being a PS5 game. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regions.
Yep.
And
sounds right.
They're all like unique and with their own things to do. Like for example, in the grasslands, it has like them riding on a chocobo in the swamp, and then the Junin region. That's like their military base. That's Shinra's like main military. I remember that scene in Final Fantasy VII where they all disguise themselves as soldiers, and they have that in the trailer. Even Red 13 is dressed as a soldier, and I love that they actually kept that in.
That's great.
And they kept that mini game in where you have to like follow the orders of like doing all the like the posing and stuff. They turned this one into like a quick time event, like a rhythm game. So that was a cool idea. Then you got the Coral region, which is like the beach town. That's where everybody's wearing like sailor stuff. And then you got the other part of Coral region is like the desert part. That's where you're gonna learn about Marlene's real father and all that, or its friend, and that's where the gold saucer is. You up above it. It's like Las Vegas, basically. It's like in the middle of the desert and the big.
I did get that. I got a big Yakuza feeling from it as well.
Yeah, and then you got Gungaga, which is where Zach's from. That's like more of a countryside, and that's where you saw the chocobos like jumping on a mushroom and high in the air. And then finally,
Mario came out of nowhere.
And then you got Cosmo Canyon. Where's we're gonna learn about Red 13's history and all that.
There's Red 13. Yep.
Yeah. So and then finally, then Nibelheim. That's where Cloud is from. Then that's where the whole Sephiroth.
And you do explore Nibelheim a little bit in the demo.
Yeah, and that's where the whole origin of Sephiroth turning evil. Is going to be. And then finally, you can explore the ocean. The Meridian Ocean, like in the vehicle. You get the Bronco, what's it called? There was the tiny Bronco, That's Sid's.
So you get like a segue in this game too, which is pretty funny. Like 2 games within a month of each other, like coming out. Both from Japan, both highly influential Japanese franchises. Both at least partially take place in seaside towns or cities, and both have segues. So I just think that, and both have slightly turn-based combat. You can do turn-based combat actually, and if you want to pick classic.
Also, we got to see more of like the new characters that we're gonna have in our party. Like Sid. Right. Sid's our pilot. They gave him like a country redneck accent, like he should have.
Yep.
They got Kate Sith, the Scottish little robot cat.
Yeah.
And then the Moogle he rides on like faxed out something out of his mouth. That was kind of.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
Then
what you need is a ridden or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said.
Vincent's voice is good. I do miss like the guy from Cowboy Bebop that played the main character, Spike, was the voice of Vincent in the original. I forget his name.
Yeah. I know Bloom, Steve Bloom.
Steve Bloom. He played like his voice for Vincent is like iconic to me. So it's gonna be kind of weird that someone else. It's gonna be.
I mean, Steve Bloom should voice everybody. Anyway, everybody.
It just fits his character so perfectly, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Vincent's the edgy vampire.
Of course, the edgelord. Yes,
the guns and the he could turn into like Frankenstein.
Shadow the Hedgehog is his favorite hedgehog.
Yes, but he can turn into like vampire. Like you have to look at this like this Frankenstein monster, and then he can turn into like a werewolf thing. So he has like these all
Wow.
these cool like the emo gothic kids fantasy. Like we all had like basically
He's got some fishnets and
yeah.
stuff like
We
that.
all
Using
had
it to
we
catch
all
fish.
had him as our profile pictures on MySpace. Like around like
Absolutely.
2005, 2004, everybody's GIF was like Sephiroth and the Flames or
Yep.
Vincent, you know. Anyway,
Looking all cool and moody.
right. So also we got to see like a bunch of mini games. Like this game has so much content.
Yeah,
We got to
it looks really good.
we got to see piano playing with
I did
Tifa's
some of that in the demo.
She's playing that with a bunch of cats rolling around.
I played the Black Parade, or Welcome to the Black Parade, I should say.
Did you really?
My playing was so bad though that Kim couldn't guess what the song was, but I tried my best. It's a pretty easy intro, so you can just look up the piano keys. But yeah, I did play it.
Then the mini games were at the Gold Saucer were like it's like punching game. You like the little chibi like characters.
That was so cute.
They brought back the game where you're on the motorcycle and you slash at other bikes and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That was in the original game. Then they have the Chocobo racing, which people is iconic to the first game. People love. People spent a lot of time with that one. And then they had like a game where like it was like Star Fox kind of, and then they had Red 13 playing soccer, and then they had like a break the box mini game like it's Kingdom Hearts. And then they had a shoot the wall like Resident Evil 4, like trying to get the what do you call them? You know the Resident Evil 4 where you have to shoot the targets with the merchant.
Oh yeah, like the target practice games.
Yeah, that was like that.
Yeah.
And then you had a racing mini game where he's on a dolphin, and then you have a music mini game where you're posing like if you're in with the military and stuff. And then there's a card game. There's so much content, basically. What I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm going through the trailer.
It's gonna be huge.
So that's why. And then we jump into another trailer, where it showcases the game. The graphics first. Graphics are just jaw dropping, especially when like they're in I forgot what it's called. Yuffie's. Yeah, Woofie's. I mean, Woofie. Yuffie's like a hometown.
Woof.
That like it was really. It's gonna be a really emotional. Like when everybody's raising the lanterns. Like that's gonna be a heartfelt moment, I think.
I bet it is. Person
that wasn't even
definitely
in.
Knows what
that
you're
wasn't
talking
even.
about.
That wasn't even in the original. Because the Goofy was a side character that was optional, and like her whole like story in the original was optional, so you can even miss that. You can totally skip that part. Then they showed. I mean, are you watching the trailer at all? Like, or are you just going by what I'm saying?
Oh, I did watch the trailer when it originally came out, but it's been a little bit, so I'm going by what you're saying.
Now, another thing we didn't talk about is every character has a unique way of traveling around and doing like cool things. Like, Barrett can shoot things down. He can shoot rocks and shoot ladders down. Yuffie can climb on ropes and swing across things.
That's right, and they brought back the thing that you had in the Yuffie DLC where you could like shoot the boxes and stuff, the Shinra boxes and stuff like that, or like throw like ninja stars at it and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah. And then Tifa got like the Batman grappling hook.
Yep.
And then Red 13 can climb on walls. And then Kate Sith can pick up boxes and throw it at things.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, really? Nobody else can fucking pick up boxes?
And then finally, Aerith can use the live stream
to that makes sense for
change the surroundings. So it's probably like it's gonna be very useful for like side content, for discovering like secret items. And then they talked about the music, and they have like a lot of new music for the game, but they basically remixed all the classic theme songs. Almost every song is in the set. Final Fantasy 7 is super classic. I mean, I think it's the greatest video game soundtrack ever, and it's all here. It's very recognizable. They didn't change it so much where it's unrecognizable. Like you could, it's just straight up a modern version of the original. And then they also have a friendship mechanic, which is very Persona, where you get more abilities by partnering and hanging out with whoever, and you can do more and more things with them. Remember that, Dory?
Yes, I do remember that.
So
when they're
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So the more you hang out with them, like go on dates or
Yes,
choices.
yeah, and certain options that you'll pick will influence who's gonna date you and who's not gonna date you, and you have to play your cards right. And as he was saying that, I was shaking in my house. I'm like, let's go.
It's called.
This is what we wanted from the first game,
right? And then they also added like this whole like new skill tree thing.
Yes, it looks really cool. It looks really cinematic.
Yeah, it looks nice, and I'm excited to jump into all that. I mean, it makes it feel like makes it feel like an RPG, which it is, but especially so. What else? I think we hit on a lot of stuff. Then we got a demo that came out the night of, and
Yeah.
Dory, you beat it, right? I didn't play it.
I did. It's only an hour and a half.
I can
played it today.
I could just wait personally, and it's coming out in a couple
Yeah.
days. So, what did you think of the demo?
Yeah. Like, this is weird, but like, at first it was so like the original. I say the original. The original remake came out what 2020, 2021, something like that.
Which one? What did you say?
The original remake, the Final FF7 remake that came out in 2021,
2020,
2020, yeah. So it's been like 4 years since I played the game, interacted with the system. So at first, the movement and the action felt really clunky to me. But as I acclimated to it, it got better and better. First off, you get to play as Sephiroth during this demo. And yes, I did scream like a fangirl. I was very excited. Kim gave me a very nasty side eye. But to be fair, I did warn her ahead of time that I would scream in excitement. It's very cool. He is as powerful as you think he is. And that blade is just fucking ridiculous, but I love it. Yeah, it basically plays like as far as I've heard, like in the original. You're Cloud and you're on a mission with Sephiroth in Nibelheim. This is the infamous one where he, eventually, well, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I mean, basically, it culminates in the classic, Sephiroth with the flames all around him kind of thing going on. You can play the piano again. I played Welcome to the Black Parade, and then I did my best attempt to play Tifa's theme, and I got a C, so whatever. But yeah, the combat's more of the same. You've got synergy attacks, you've got magic, you've got the ATB, the action, the general actions. You've got different modes to play around with. A lot to do in an hour and a half, and I don't really feel like everything was covered, but that's fine. Obviously, the nice thing too is this demo's progress is carried forward, so you don't have to replay this mission at all. And honestly, if you did, I mean, I feel like a half an hour of it would be cutscenes. But I will say one of my big gripes with Final Fantasy and a lot of RPGs these days, and a lot of games, I just want this trope to go away and die a horrible death. Is just like when you're a character who's gone through this traumatic thing or this horrible thing, or you're injured and you're walking really fucking slow, and it takes forever to get anywhere. And if you make one wrong move, like in one wrong direction, it takes like 5 minutes to turn. I'm exaggerating, but it takes like 5 minutes to turn around and go the other way. I really hate that. I want them to stop doing it. I don't care about the squeeze throughs. That's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. But like, I'm just really tired of Cloud just very slowly moving towards his destination dramatically. It doesn't make me feel engrossed in the game. I just feel annoyed because I'm like, when you go to a meeting at work and you have like about a 30-minute conversation about something, but it could have been an email. That's what this is the equivalent of. This could have been a cutscene. I didn't need to control Cloud during this. Like, I know Final Fantasy already has a lot of cutscenes, so maybe they don't want to overload the player with them. I get that. Counterpoint, Hideo Kojima. Anyway, so like I don't know. That just bothers me. That's a nitpick. That's like, it's not a huge deal, but it did kind of suck to like be in this big dramatic scene with Sephiroth and I almost said Sora and Cloud towards the end of the demo, and I'm like moving like 0.2 miles per hour. And it's just the fucking worst. But that said, everything here is what you would expect. I mean, it's beautiful graphics, great voice acting. The combat got better as I went along, and I really started to feel the groove of playing as Sephiroth and Cloud. One thing I want to point out is Cloud's mom. Her genes did not even try. They just looked the same exact thing as if Cloud was a slightly older, middle-aged woman. Like, the genes just did not even try there. They look so much alike. It's very funny. Also very funny is in the demo, you can you can visit Tifa's house. And at first Tifa's like, you went to my house? And Cloud's like, yeah, I thought maybe you'd be there. And you can choose whether like you did or didn't. And then you can go around in different rooms, and then you can go into Tifa's room, and she's like, "You went into my room?" It's like, "Yeah, I just wanted to, just check it out, see what was going on." And then you can open up her dresser or whatever, and she's like, "You went through my stuff?" And he's like, "Well, look, I didn't feel good about it, okay, but yeah, I did." And then her and Aerith both at the same time, in a very anime-esque way, say, "Asshole." It's so funny.
It is.
Yeah, so very good stuff.
It is kind of odd that they put Cloud and Sephiroth together in that scene and that whole section and everything. Because in the original it's a twist. I don't know if I want to say it. It'll be a spoiler. Yeah. But like it's kind of weird. I wonder if they're doing that on purpose to like mislead us, and then in the actual game it's going to be another character instead of Cloud. But
yeah, maybe.
I mean, if you played Crisis Core, you know what I'm talking about. But
yes, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yes, Cloud. I played Crisis. That was a great game.
It's not Cloud. It's supposed to be someone else.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I don't know. I don't really have any big expectations for that. I mean, that's really the nice thing of never having gotten past the train goes too hard or whatever in Final Fantasy 1 or wherever the hell I was. Maybe it was a factory or something.
No, my point.
Or Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 7.
My point is that like it's a huge twist in 7. It's one of the biggest twists ever in games, and it's like because we know Zack is like he popped up at the end of the Yuffie DLC. Or no, that
right.
Yeah. Integrated.
Yeah, it's DLC.
And so it's kind of like, is that going to be another twist? I'm confused. And also, we saw Zack and Aerith together in the trailer.
Right, we did, yep.
So I don't know if they're doing some funky timeline stuff with that one. Well, who knows?
Yeah,
that's why I'm kind of excited to see what they do.
Yes, I'm very excited. My main man, Tetsuya Nomura, is of course helping to work on this as the creative director. So I'm very excited to what fucking shenanigans he's going to get up to with that plot. It's going to be very interesting. I'm sure it won't be polarizing at all. And we'll all have a calm, civil discussion about Final Fantasy VII. What is this, Rebirth? Yeah, Rebirth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought the demo was great. Like I said, it felt clunky at first, the combat and the movement, but I think that's also because it's been 4 years, and I just wasn't really used to it at first. But the game eases you into it. It gives you plenty of potions to work with in case you're a mess up. I didn't even have to use any potions. I just used Cure because I'm stubborn, and I wanted to see if I could do it, and I did. But it was just normal, so whatever. There's also, sorry, I forgot one last thing. There is also going to be a second part of the demo released with, Cloud and company. There's like a Junon. It's like the Junon region or something like that, and you can fight challenging enemies, and you can do Chadley's, Mr. Chad himself, his little challenges and stuff. So that'll be coming at some point through an update. So I'll probably play that at some point, and maybe I'll talk about it, but it probably isn't worth talking about because honestly, the gameplay is largely the same, which is fine. I love the gameplay in the first one. As long as they've done some iterative things and they've improved it, I don't have that much to complain about personally.
Like hopefully they improve the aerial combat like that. I think that was one of the problems.
Looks like when an enemy is in the air, Cloud will strike and like materia or like energy will come out of his sword and strike at an aerial enemy. You can also not teleport, but you can kind of like jump or move towards aerial enemies. So it looks like they've made that a little better, but yeah, it was still a little tricky to figure out at first, and combat kind of happens really quick, obviously, because it's a turn-based. But yeah, I had a great time with the demo. Very much looking forward to the game. Like Seb says, probably going to be my GOTY, or at least in the top 5 contention, maybe top 3.
Yes, I think it's gonna be my game of the year, probably. There's some other candidates, but this seems like this feels like I'm not gonna say it's like Elden Ring, like a shoe in, like, but it feels as close as you can get to that. Like, where it feels like it's gonna take a lot probably for me to not pick something else. And I don't. Now that I think about it, as much as I love Final Fantasy, I don't think I've ever had a Final Fantasy game as my game of the year. So,
wow,
I did have Resident Evil 2 remake, and Resident Evil 4 as my game of the year. Not Resident Evil 4 remake, but the original in 2005. So
right.
I've never had a Final Fantasy game in my game of the year.
That's wild, because that's like one of your favorite franchises of all time.
It's my second, actually. So yeah.
Well, second, yeah, but yeah.
No, I'm saying it's one of them. It's like my second. It's like my if it's not Resident Evil, it'd be my favorite. And it's like I've never had it in my game of the year. I mean, maybe Final Fantasy 10 in like 2002, but I was like 8, 9. I wasn't doing that back then. So you know what I mean. All right. Let's move on to the last topic now. So just actually before we move on, let me just say Final Fantasy 7 remake comes out on February 29th. So go pre-order it because it's gonna be an amazing game. It's gonna be such a big game that we're probably either gonna have to talk about it in parts,
ironically,
or we're gonna have to. I don't know. We'll see how we handle it because I mean I don't want to feel like we have to rush. You know what I mean, to get beat. But this, so yeah, we can do it in parts. I think we can do like
I think we probably will.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway, last topic of the night is the apocalypse, the X-pocalypse.
The X-pocalypse.
That's what I'm trademarking. So
there we go.
TAI. So if you didn't know, did I say TI? TM. Yeah. So Microsoft is potentially putting their games on every platform. Like, that's the big rumor that just came out of nowhere. Every insider, you see bunny quotes, insider, Xbox insider, was being told in secret by somebody that Xbox is planning to have in the spring an announcement that they're going to put all their games on all their platforms, and the internet just totally exploded. So Xbox, I feel like Microsoft had to change their whole plan and make it as soon as possible. I think this was planned for like in the April, but they had to move it up to Monday. I think it's this Monday coming up. That tell us what's going on with their business plan, because this is industry changing. In so many ways. Xbox has been a major player in the console market since 2001. It's been a good 23 years. They've been PlayStation's main rival in terms of like the high end of the console space. Nintendo does their own thing, obviously. I always dismiss that Nintendo. People that say just Nintendo's not Sony's competitor. Like, of course they're competitors. They're both make consoles, and they both are fighting for your time, right? Your time and your money. Right. So you can't just say, "Oh, Nintendo's not." They always say that, "Oh, Sony's just gonna have a monopoly and do whatever they want. There's no one to be challenged them." Nintendo's still kind of there. It's not like Nintendo's gonna be like, "Okay, Sony, do whatever you want," and that's it, because they want your time.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about it in the Draft Punk server too, and I mean, like, even if Xbox does this, it's. Guys, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but like, it's 3 gigantic multinational corporations that have been around for decades upon decades upon decades. Even if like Sony did get more of a market share over like video games, it's not exactly like we have a bustling free market of companies all vying for your attention, right? It's largely 3 big companies and every now and then someone will make a Dreamcast and it will fail. Like that's basically what has happened so far. So there can always be more competition. I'd like there to be more competition, not less. But on the other hand, yeah, I mean, I also want to see people being able to play games everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think Xbox doing less exclusives means they're getting out of the console war stuff or getting out of the console stuff. It could down the line, but it's not the same thing. Those are different things. But yeah, this sent the internet into a whole tizzy about it. Lots of people freaking out. Me, I don't have an Xbox and I only have a PC. So my reaction was like, "Whoa!" And then I was like, "All right, interesting. We'll see what happens."
Well, before we really jump into it, we'll start with like what we knew about before, like what the rumors were. The rumor beginning was Hi-Fi Rush, which we talked about last week.
Right.
And then it was Sea of Thieves. Now, what seems like it's going on right now is, and we don't know this stuff, but like from what I'm putting pieces together, what people have said here and there, what I've heard on their podcasts and Reddit and forums, is that people at Bethesda are not happy with Microsoft because they want other they've wanted their games to be everywhere. Since they got purchased, I mean they just don't want to be exclusive, and
right,
and Starfield was their least successful game because it was only to like 2 different audiences and that was it. I mean, PlayStation's a major audience for Bethesda. I mean, people play Skyrim on there. They played Fallout 4 on there.
I would have rather played Starfield on my PlayStation than played on my PC. I mean, I definitely would have had a better experience. I'll say that much.
Yeah. So, and wouldn't it be ironic if PS5 gets the 60 frames version?
Yeah.
And so I think people at Bethesda are not happy, and then I think Microsoft's also seeing that the ABK deal is so expensive, and that it just logically doesn't make any sense to make all those games exclusive to the smallest console space in the whole industry. Right. I mean, if you look at the sales which we got recently, that PlayStation 5 is outselling Xbox Series S and X 2-1 now.
2-1, yeah. I thought it was even 3-1, but yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's what the PS4 was basically with the other Xbox One. So it seems like something happened, and internally, like I feel like this was gonna happen at some point anyway. But I thought it was gonna be like 3-4 years from now. I didn't expect it to be this soon. And I think it's because someone higher than Phil Spencer in all of them, Sarah Bond, all of them. I think they realize like our money's getting drained. We're losing money on Game Pass. We're not making Phil's dream that he proposed to them back in like 2016, 2015 about this is what he wants for the Xbox to be. It's just not come to fruition yet. It's just not been there. I mean, Game Pass is a great deal, don't get me wrong, but you can imagine how expensive it is to keep putting new games on there. And you're not really getting any, this, unless you're getting like, I know they're getting revenue, but you can imagine it's a very expensive cost. And you feel like, do they feel like it's worth it? Or at the very least, give Microsoft, it's a good, smart business move to charge PlayStation or Nintendo $70 for a game, and then have Xbox players have the option to have it on Game Pass. That way, you're making money on both sides. So the point is, somewhere in Microsoft or the whole board on top are realizing like we're losing a lot of money, or we can make a lot of money doing it this way, and they just decided we're gonna change and pivot our strategy completely. It's like a total 180 from like 2 months ago.
I mean, you got to think about it too. With Game Pass, it's like they're stuck. If they even if they're losing money on Game Pass, which honestly I don't care about. I'm not their financier or financial manager or whatever. But even if they are losing money, like getting rid of Game Pass would be a huge blow to Xbox.
That's
like
not gonna happen anyway.
yeah,
Game Pass is not. Really...
No, I know, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
like they're in too deep to get rid of it, and so they have to keep it, even though they're losing money on it. And we don't know exactly how much money, and also Microsoft is billions and billions, but
yeah.
So I don't know. It's just a thing where they're in too deep on that, and the PR would be so bad that it doesn't matter how much money they're losing on it. They have to keep Game Pass.
Yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about Game Pass at all. I think Game Pass is what they want to keep. I would be more concerned if you're the hardware, because if everything's on everything, what's the point of even buying an Xbox?
Right, exactly.
So I would be more concerned about the hardware more than Game Pass. I think Game Pass is here to stay. Like if Microsoft had it their way, Game Pass would be on PlayStation and Nintendo. It's Nintendo and PlayStation who say no, because PlayStation and Nintendo would rather get 30% of the cut, putting it on the store. But it seems like if Microsoft just put their games on Sony's store, Sony will get 30% of it, but Microsoft still gets 70%, right? So it seems like a win-win for everybody. Makes a business sense. It's like, but Microsoft has the questions like, is it worth destroying their hardware for? Because as Game Pass and Microsoft are doing really, really well right now. Like they just had record numbers and stuff, except for their hardware. Their hardware is only up like 3%. It's like on the same pace as Xbox One. It's been a disaster for their hardware. So it's like maybe Microsoft's starting to just get away from the hardware market, and that's the big question, right?
Yeah, that's the big question. Yeah, and that's, if they do, I mean, that's a big blow to them. I mean, in terms of what they have to offer, right? I mean, they still have the PC market, but they would, giving up the console would be huge. I mean, I played Xbox and Xbox 360. I mean, I grew up on those consoles. It would just be absolutely gigantic if they did move away from those consoles. I think it would be, for the worse. I mean, in some respects, because it is good to have different things available. But on the other hand, I just don't really see what the Xbox gives you that the PS5 can't, or that the Switch does different things, obviously. But like, I feel like even the Switch has more versatility than a Series X or Series S. I mean, I've only used a Series X once. I wasn't particularly in love with the UI or the way that it kind of all meshed, but yeah.
There's a couple things the Series X does better. Like it has that quick resume feature, which is really cool.
Yes,
it has
that is really cool.
The cloud, like seamless cloud, where you can like download the game while the console's off. You can't do that on PS5. You have to like have your PS5 on rest mode for that to work. And things like that. Like it has cool features. But I imagine if you're an Xbox gamer, console gamers and PC gamers are two different audiences. Because people always say, why don't you just play on PC? Like a lot of people just like the convenience of a console. You put it on, it works 99% of the time. There you go.
Well, and it's just nice to have something that's specifically built to play games, right? Even like I have a pretty decent gaming PC, right? I have a Nitro 5, Acer, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like and like 16 gigs of RAM or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
But like even then, it's like it still struggles to play newer games sometimes, and it's just nice. Like when Like a Dragon was coming out, I'm like, there's no way I'm playing it on my PC. Like I know I'll have a better, more streamlined experience on PS5. Even then, I forgot to mention earlier, there were like a couple of times, this was very minor, that's why I didn't mention it, but there were a couple of times like the game would hitch or like stuff would have to load in or whatever. And it's like, if that's the case with my PS5, which is literally built to handle that kind of game, then it's like I don't want to really think about how my PC is going to do it. So yeah, I mean, Series S or X is just more convenient for people.
Yeah, that's one of the unique things about consoles this generation is that for $500, the Series X and the PS5 do better than a $500 computer. Like you could not get a computer that play as well as a PS5 for $500. You have for half a decent PC, you have to spend at least $1,000 or more.
Right.
So that's another problem. I mean, people say you can build one and find parts, but I'm talking about the average person's not going to go out of the way. And
yeah, I'm not going to go do that. I bought my Acer for I think $700, $800, and that was on the back of like everybody getting free checks because there was a fucking pandemic. It's not exactly a usual situation there.
Like I play on PC too, and I have a nice PC, but I don't like PC enthusiasts always make it like, oh, everybody's as hardcore as them. Everybody goes online and searches up PC parts and builds it. Like, talking about the average person, right? The average person just wants to buy a console or buy something that plays games and plays games, right? They're not looking to spend like 3 weeks doing research and all that stuff.
Right.
So I'm saying not everybody's not as hardcore as them. And the convenience of a console, not only that, is that you build a digital library. And I imagine if you're an Xbox gamer, you probably have maybe like 500 to 1,000 games bought on your Xbox console. What happens to that library if something happened to the hardware? Like, is it tied to your account? Do you bring it to somewhere, like, is it on the cloud? I don't understand. That's one of the big concerns as well. I think why a lot of Xbox gamers feel betrayed if this happens, because I'm assuming there's gonna be another console, but I don't know if there's gonna be another console after that, or is there gonna be a console, but it's just gonna be like if you want it, it's there kind of thing. They're not even gonna try to market it like that. I don't know. It's a mess.
There's so much up in the air, and we're not going to find out until this upcoming week. So all we can do is speculate.
Right.
I mean, that'll be a topic next week. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it sucks in some sense if the Xbox X or S does go away, or we get a new console. But it's kind of like the leftovers or whatever. And Phil Spencer's like, fine, here, like, shut up. And it's not like they put even less effort into it than the Xbox than they did with the Xbox One and the fucking motion sensor stuff that they did, right? That was a disaster. It's just been a lot of bad decisions from Microsoft about the Xbox. It's hard to put it any other way. And like ultimately, like Microsoft's going to be fine. You know, I get that people have invested in this ecosystem. They feel betrayed by Microsoft because they'll have bricks basically that won't be able to do anything. They bought all these games, they put all this money into it, and they just won't be able to do shit with it, and that sucks. And I get it. That's a very real, valid emotional like thing to have about it. But on the other hand, I mean, these, we talk about this every now and then, Seb. But I mean, it's just like these are multinational corporations. Like they don't give a shit. Ultimately, if it's not profitable for them, they're gonna stop. Like I get feeling, let down or maybe even hurt about that. But here's like an alternative. Don't like tie your emotional health to multinational corporations who don't care about you. And like that's tough. Like that's hard because they have so many cool properties, and we all love video games, and we all want to like root for cool things. And like it's easy to honestly see Microsoft as the underdog in this fight because they kind of are. And so like I get like wanting to root for Xbox and Microsoft, but like at the end of the day, it's owned by motherfucking Bill Gates. Enough said. It's like they're not struggling. Like ultimately, they're not going to go out of business. They'll pivot. They'll do a different business strategy. They'll do a business, and maybe it'll work, and maybe it won't. We don't fucking know because I will never have as much money as Bill Gates has in a single second.
Yeah, didn't they just become the biggest company in the world like recently?
I didn't hear about that, but it wouldn't surprise me because every time I hear company makes record profits and record amount of sales and they're the most popular they've ever been, the next sentence that comes out of people's mouth is people got cut or people got removed or people got fired. And that's been happening a lot with the layoffs this year. I mean, it's brutal. We already have as many layoffs as we did. I know it's a different topic, but just while I'm thinking about it, I mean, we have pretty much as many layoffs as we did last year in the first like 2-ish months of 2024. And it's probably because of all those fucking acquisitions that happened. And then companies suddenly don't have the backing that they thought.
I mean, not to go on a tangent with the layoffs, but I think one of the problems that also happened with the COVID happened that like they overhired a lot of people.
Absolutely, lots of overhiring, the COVID stuff, the acquisitions. I mean, it all added up.
And I think studios have made games just way too big. Like we don't need.
Yes, agreed.
Because and then they either like don't finish it and they have to get rid of people, or it's like the problem is the people at top making these decisions. It's
like that meme where somebody is like riding a bike and they fall over and they're like, this must be the gamer's fault. You know what I mean? Like this got to be their fault that we're not selling this huge ass game that's buggy and
how dare you not buy it? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so it's like I don't know. But anyway, back to Xbox. I said. Yeah. But like I said, Microsoft is just going to have to pivot. I mean, I think it's obvious that the business strategy isn't working for them. I would never buy a Series X or S. I'm very happy with my PC. Very rarely is it ever the case that it's exclusive for the console anyway. Like I I can maybe think of a couple of games that are just exclusive for the console, and that's usually like a Game Pass situation, not a, oh, this game is coming out, it's brand new. Usually it's like, oh, this game is only coming to Xbox Game Pass and not PC Game Pass. But other than that, there's really no drawback for me having a gaming laptop instead of a Series X or S. I mean, already, I don't personally feel motivated to have an X and S. I actually never really did. But the last console I had was the 360, which was an awesome console, and so was the original Xbox. But we're just not in those times anymore, to say the least.
I have an Xbox Series X that hasn't been turned on in over a year. It's because I have no need for it. I have a PC that does everything it does. So,
yep.
Going back to what you said earlier about people's like feeling betrayed and like tying their whole identity to big corporations that don't care about them. One of the problems I think Microsoft has that other Nintendo and Sony don't have is that they tie themselves to like these toxic fanboys. Like I'm not gonna say names. I don't want to draw bad attention to us, but like,
sure.
Colin Moriarty called it like the parasocial mentality that they have, where they do this like, oh, I had dinner with Phil Spencer, or Phil Spencer talks to me on Xbox Live. He's my best friend, and like obviously when you get like in that connection, that inner circle, they basically want you to talk positive about the Xbox and everything, right? And then see how quickly a corporation just takes it all away, like just, you know what I mean? Like they do not care about you, and a lot of people are like having mental breakdowns. It's almost feeling like a mental illness because it feels like these poor people have tied their whole identities to what plastic box they play video games on, and they're having like legitimate. I'm not even making fun of them. I'm saying like they're having legitimate meltdowns. Like their life is coming to an end because they've tied. Because if you go on their Twitter page and stuff, like it's just constant like memes and arguments, and it's like everything their whole identity is to this thing, and like 'cause they really believed that Phil Spencer was their best friend. Oh, Sarah Bond was their best friend. Like they're looking out for you, and they're really not. As soon as they saw the numbers that looked bad, they were like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. Goodbye. We're going to do this.
Like I'll give a comparison or analogy or whatever. I love wrestling. I love AEW. AEW is one of my favorite wrestling companies. And I love watching their product. Tony Khan's a billionaire. He's not my friend. He liked my tweet, I think, one time. And he's a billionaire, and I'm of the opinion that you don't get to be a billionaire by being a good person, generally speaking, right? I'm sorry, but you just don't get that much wealth by being a really, really nice person, especially under capitalism. He's not my friend, and AEW is like, I love AEW. It's a big part of my week. I would be devastated if they went out of business somehow. That would never happen because TK is like a multi-billionaire or whatever. The Khan family is like insanely wealthy. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
But similar. Like I would be devastated. But ultimately, there's other wrestling out there, right? There's other video games out there to continue the metaphor, the comparison. There's other video games out there. There's other video game companies. You shouldn't base your whole identity around one corporation or company or whatever that completely defines you. Like, it's okay to have hobbies. It's okay to have interests. I love AEW. I love video games. And, like, it would suck if, like, something went wrong with any of that stuff. And, like, it's okay to be sad about it, obviously. But it's, like, it's not worth having meltdowns about. You know, like we've been saying, these corporations, they don't care about you. And an interesting thing that I've seen on Twitter is, if they did for some reason, doomsday scenario, right? They stop production of X and S, suddenly you can't access the servers or some shit. Like, this is doomsday stuff, right? And probably not going to happen. But like in that case, it's like buying isn't owning, and therefore I don't know that piracy is stealing. Like, just putting that out there. So like it's tough for it's tough for me to like get super invested one way or the other because I'm not in that ecosystem except as far as it concerns Xbox Game Pass and PC. Yeah. But I mean, it sucks. I feel for those people who are upset about it.
Right. Also, I'm curious, like, where Game Pass finds its growth. Like, where is the new crowd where they can grow from? Because, like, you got the Xbox crowd. Like, if you own an Xbox, right, you own Game Pass. Like, what's the point of having an Xbox and not have Game Pass? Like, that's just stupid, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, that's like a small base. It's only like 30 million, whatever it is. It's like it's such a small percentage. Like, where do you find the growth? Well, you say, well, PC, but then like the strong majority of PC gamers have zero interest in Game Pass because PC gamers only like one place and one place only, and they've done that for 20 something years. They'll never get away from it, and that's Steam.
Yep.
They'll never not buy games on Steam. A Steam user can get the game for $1 on Game Pass, and they'll still buy it for $70 on Steam because it's on Steam and they want to play everything on Steam. And that's how PC gamers are. The strong majority of PC players are Steam users. So where does Game Pass find its growth? If you can't find it from Xbox, you milked it as much as you can from Xbox. And PC gamers are not really supporting it because PC gamers like to buy their games. Where do you get it? You have to start branching out. But the problem is Nintendo and Sony are saying no. So I don't know if there's marketing. I don't know if they're making deals behind the scenes to make it work. I don't know what's going on, but
even me, huge Xbox Game Pass fan, or huge Game Pass fan, I should say. PC Game Pass is what I have. I only have now. I do have Basic. I don't have Ultimate, but I don't. We've talked about it before. I don't think there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I only have 13 games in my backlog, plus a couple that are downloaded, so 15. But on Steam, I have. Let's see here. I have 15 games I want to play. I've already played 74 games on Steam. And I have 24 in my backlog in case I somehow end up on the want to play stuff. That's almost double the amount of games. And I love Game Pass, and I think it's a terrific deal. But even for me, it's it's double on Steam because Steam is just so convenient. The UI is so it's really good. There's a lot more games there. Often the prices are really good. There's often sales. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on.
Yeah, and especially because I think the rumor now is that Call of Duty's not coming to Game Pass ever. I mean, it's not coming. It's not going to be on their day one for free if you have a subscription. It's just straight up not coming to Game Pass.
They gutted Toys for Bob too. I know you tweeted about that, and I saw it too online.
Apparently they're still around. It's just they're
they're in a remote.
Yeah.
They're working remotely now instead of this, but still, it's not a good sign, obviously.
Yeah. So it's where's the growth going to come from?
Yeah.
That's my concern as well, and I feel like that's their concern is where do we go from here? Because you have to say the ABK deal and the Bethesda deals were meant to make Game Pass more enticing. It's we get Call of Duty's going to be exclusive on Game Pass, Indiana Jones, Starfield, new Doom game,
Senua,
Hellblade, all that. Yep. And it's now people are going to question now with this messaging is that people are going to question, is this coming to PlayStation? Is this coming to PlayStation? Should I wait? I mean, remember when Blade got revealed and they still have not said it's exclusive. They've not ever said, not once.
Wait, which game was it?
Blade. When they showed Blade for the first time, Blade,
right.
Not once did
Blade.
They ever say it was exclusive. They didn't say anywhere coming Game Pass.
They didn't say anything about it. Yeah, I remember that. That was the talking point.
This has been the beginning of the whole saga of this.
Yep.
And I don't think it might not be a coincidence, obviously. And that's when people started thinking Game Pass can really start growing now. That they have exclusives to World of Warcraft and anything Blizzard does. We can fix Blizzard, make them good again. That'll be huge for them. And then they said, we have Call of Duty exclusive and we have all of Bethesda. We're getting all this growth, and then and it feels like Xbox had a lot of momentum, right? 2024 is gonna be a big year for them, and now it's they're just you know what? We're putting our games on everything now. It's kind of weird. The point is Microsoft's communication is just awful. I think that's the biggest weakness they have more than anything else is their communication always seems to they always step on their own.
And it's funny too because Phil Spencer seems, and I say seems because I don't know the guy obviously, but he seems from his tweets and from his press appearances, I mean, he seems like an affable guy. He seems like a decent spokesperson. He seems like he actually cares. Game Pass, one of the coolest things I've ever seen for video games. But just the overall transparency from Xbox and Microsoft in general is just, like you said, not good. And to have Phil Spencer be no, give us a week. We'll talk to you then. It's no, maybe you should address it now or say something, right? Besides the fact that, hey, we'll be with you in a week.
Yeah, that's
weird,
so weird to make us wait a week. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I think
what does that change? That just makes people more anxious, more nervous, more likely to exit out of the ecosystem.
That's why I think that something big is going to happen, because they would have just said right off the bat, like, no, this is not happening. Like, remember,
this
like,
is not true.
Because they did that before, like it was like a few months ago or a year ago or whatever it was. It was like, no, this is not true, and that was it.
Yeah,
they shut that down. I forget what it was, something about Game Pass, or something like that, and they straight up said no, and that was it. So this is planned. I mean, I feel like I don't now. My question is, there's so much to talk about. Is what are we gonna get if it's true? Now I'm assuming Hi-Fi Rush for sure. I think that's already pretty much. I think that's a lock at this point. Even whether
I agree.
And I think Sea of Thieves, because it's a service game multiplayer. I think I could see that one coming to everything. But Starfield and Indiana Jones really like changed the game, because that's their two marquee huge games coming out or already came out. Like, it's their new IP. You know what I'm talking about? It's like their new, like, it's like if Sony's brand new IP, first party IP came to Xbox, it'd be crazy, right?
Right.
So that opens the door to anything else. Because the rumor is, the other rumor we saw this week was that Gears of War could be coming to PlayStation, which is insane.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Because that's their second biggest IP.
And I know you tweeted something similar to this, but I would feel like a I don't know, God, what kind of analogy could I even make here? Like a sex worker in church or some shit, right? Like just the most uncouth thing of ever I could imagine, to play Gears of War on a PlayStation. Like, that is just weird. Like, that's like playing Halo on a PlayStation. Like,
but you imagine like sawing enemies down with DualSense features, the rumbling.
No, get out of here! Stop that. That's gross. Get out of here. Get out of here. Oh,
the haptics would be so good in that game.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I mean, like I
said
earlier, I don't have anything against accessibility. It's mostly jokes here, but it's weird. It's fucking strange, and like, I don't know if Gears of War is not off the table, if that's legitimate. If Gears of War is anything is like, even not Halo off the table. Even Halo. You're gonna see. Can you imagine that?
You're gonna hear the Halo theme on a PS5 UI.
I think I'm gonna go to the bathroom, get my feelings out. Just
imagine like Nintendo and Sony has their own like Master Chief. They have the Master Chief Collection, but you can have like your own like custom gear you can wear on like Master Chief can have like a little like raccoon tail or Mario hat. Or like on the PlayStation side, you can have like a little Sackboy or something. You know what I mean?
Oh my God,
that's our future. Worst. That's our future. Right
that's terrible.
Marcus Phoenix.
But this was an absolutely bonkers week. We're not even talking about Epic and Disney coming together, which means Sora is obviously confirmed for I almost said for Smash, for Fortnite. But like, yeah, it's just like this week was just absolutely ridiculous in news.
Yes, and so another thing. Well, actually, before we move on, Halo. The one problem PlayStation has right now is multiplayer. Their multiplayer is terrible. Their first party multiplayer is terrible.
I mean, Helldivers just came out, but I have no.
Yeah, which people really haven't fun with.
Foam Stars, I think. Foam Stars also.
Both of them came out. I'll talk about that next week. Both of them.
Yeah.
But other than that, and Foam Stars didn't do very well. It's like 50 something.
Yeah, it didn't.
But I think people still having fun with it though. But it's free on Plus, so if you have Plus, not just worth just trying it out. But it's probably gonna last like 3 weeks. But we'll see. Anyway. The point is that Sony doesn't have multiplayer. So Microsoft's basically bailing them out. Here's some great multiplayer for your PlayStation.
They're subsidizing their multiplayer and stuff.
Yeah, maybe in a couple years when the service games come out that they end up being good, but I'm not that confident in that. Anyway, so Master Chief Collection it's gonna be insane. Like, seeing Halo on PlayStation with trophy support, like you get a platinum and like Gears of War 2, like it's just I don't even. As somebody that's played on Xbox since 2001, like I'm an OG.
Yes, same
Xbox gamer, and I'm an OG PS1 gamer.
I played Jet Set Radio Future and some fucking random racing game that both came out bundled with the Xbox. I know.
My very first Xbox game was Shrek. That game was fun. I played Halo, of course, and Jet Set Radio. Those are like my Jet Set Radio, especially. I put so much time into it. Xbox was always the third wheel for me. That generation, Xbox was the third wheel. Like GameCube and PS2 got more of the playtime, especially PS2. PS2 just had everything. That's like the one argument you can make. Like, oh, well, PlayStation was so dominant in the PS2 era that when they basically had a monopoly, that like they still put out bangers. So like, I feel like one thing I don't disagree. One thing I do disagree with people on is that like PlayStation is just going to release their console for $1,000 and sell games for $100 because Xbox is not in the space. Like they're not going to do that because they're trying to sell hardware still. Like,
yeah,
that's just stupid.
They're still trying to. Ultimately, they're still trying to make money. They're still trying to compete, kind of, with Nintendo. Like they're not
gonna like outbid themselves. They're not gonna do that. That's just stupidity.
Like that would be ridiculous.
The only reason, and one of the biggest, I think people always keep it way too simple with like PlayStation with the PS3, and people say, "Oh, Sony was just arrogant. That's why it was $600." It's also because the cell shaded hardware they used was so expensive that they would have had to sell at a huge loss. If they
I mean that's why we had shortages for PS5. It's not because they weren't arrogant there either. It's just because literally there was a chip shortage and a pandemic going on at the same time that just culminated in basically not a lot of PS5s getting made.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying I'm not like just defending. It does concern me that Sony would have like almost zero competition because competition is really good for the industry. Because in capitalism, you need to have competition, obviously, or things don't turn out well when one thing has too much, one company has too much, because then they can destroy the consumers. They can really ruin their brand. But I think it is a little overblown. Like, oh, every game's gonna be $100 now. Oh, PS6 is gonna be $1,000. I mean, is Xbox really been competing with PlayStation? I mean, they've outsold them every generation. Even in the one generation that Xbox was kicking PlayStation's ass, like PlayStation turned it around, and they were neck and neck for the whole generation. And then by the end, PlayStation outsold them. So Xbox has never really been like, if anything, Nintendo is PlayStation's ultimate competitor. I mean, the Switch is on pace to break PS2's record.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, a couple more things, and then we can start wrapping it up. Another thing I noticed is that people really got to slow down with like blowing up their channels and their podcasts and their Twitter pages, and because of this news. Like, first of all, it's not even news yet because we don't have. It's just a rumor. But we had these Xbox dudes like retiring. Guy was closing out his Reset Era page, like his profile. Like horrible. Like I'm like, this guy, he just shut. He's like, I'm done. I'm retiring my brand. Like, this is a big Xbox guy.
I saw that one.
I'm like, what is going on, people? And it's insane. We talked about that already, but I was like, it's insane how people tied everything to this. Like, at least wait for them to announce it before you like jump off the cliff. Anyway, this like
I mean, I think that stuff just goes all like back to our discussion earlier about investing too much of yourself in a brand. I don't have too much to say about it because I only saw like one or two examples, but yeah, kind of wild.
Yeah, I was looking all at it, but I think the best part of it, the whole thing overall, was that the jokes. I think people had some funny jokes. Like one of the tweets I saw was that Xbox is putting more games on PS5 than PlayStation is this year.
That's good.
That's
not untrue. Not untrue.
And then they were like, we should have a new Banjo game coming. Like if everything if everything's coming to PlayStation, possibly, can you imagine a Banjo-Kazooie game on PlayStation for the very first time? Wouldn't that feel dirty?
It's just fucking gross.
I mean, at least Spyro and Crash used to be on PlayStation now.
Right. That feels fine.
And it's also weird the fact that like if you remember back in the day, PlayStation used to make Halo killers. They tried to, like Haze and Killzone were all meant to be Halo killers, and Halo was like the top of the world at the time. And now Halo could be on PlayStation. It's just the whole thing is just like wackadoo. If you grew up in the 2000s, like we did, it just doesn't make logical sense. It's like, like the only thing crazier than this would be like if Mario was on PlayStation. Like it would just
right.
You couldn't process like
that's multiverse shit. That's Spider-Verse shit. Like it's just nuts. That's like somebody fucking with a dragonfly back in the year like 1600, and somehow like Xbox owns The Last of Us and like Sony owns like Halo. Like that's the kind of levels we're talking about here.
Right. So I'll wrap it up now. Just like what I said on Twitter, it felt like this the moment like when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO, like Phil Spencer's Hulk Hogan, like he just leg dropped the Xbox fan on Twitter, and yeah, like that's to me. I understand that people feel betrayed, but as somebody that plays on all the platforms, I would just get over it. Like I wouldn't be that upset. It was me as a the person that plays on PlayStation mainly, but I play all my games on PC Game Pass. I don't mind, or on Steam. I don't mind playing it on there. But if their games are on PlayStation, I don't mind buying them on PlayStation, and I will buy all these games over again. Not like all at once or anything, but here and there. And because I would like to see this personally. I mean, people might get mad at me, but I want to see this. I don't mind. It doesn't affect me, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't really affect me either. So I don't mind if it happens, but I'm just going to wait to see what their business plan is, and then I'll actually judge it. Until then, we've got rumors, speculation, and all kinds of melting down on the internet over this, and I'm just not invested enough to do any of that stuff.
What I'm leaning on is that it's not going to be as bad as it sounds. I think it's going to be like Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves kind of stuff, and then that's about it. That kind of smaller stuff, maybe Pentiment or something.
That'd be great.
I'm just not. I still don't feel like we're gonna see Halo or Gears of War on PlayStation. I just don't see it. But who knows? Like I said, we're all speculating. The next episode, we can finally talk about the actual news. Because it's gonna be a huge Monday. Of course, I gotta work. They're gonna do it during while I'm working, so I'm gonna be looking at my phone the whole time. Like it doesn't affect me, but I'm like, it's just so like everybody just wants to know.
It's enticing. It's enrapturing to some extent. Like I want to know what's gonna happen. Like what the hell are they gonna say?
Like wanting to know and waiting for the news is more fun than the the actual game sometimes.
Right.
Anyway, so that's our show. Thanks for joining me, Dory.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge week, so lots of news to go through, and I'm sure next week is going to be pretty big too.
Yeah, like imagine if we have a Nintendo Direct next week too. Oof.
Oh my goodness!
I feel like it's coming up at some point. This is the most I've talked since Saturday, last Saturday actually.
Yeah,
I've been like I just been so sick. I haven't been able to speak. So it's actually made me feel better. Like being able to like actually use my normal voice again. Has been very beneficial.
By the way, everybody, Seb was actually sick because he was very worried about Xbox and Microsoft, multinational corporations that will fail if he does not cry about them.
Yep.
He was so upset he lost his voice. Okay. He's like, if I can't have my voice, Phil Spencer, there you go. There's my voice, Phil.
Yeah, Phil took my voice.
Phil took his voice.
All right. Next week, I'm thinking I'm gonna talk about Helldivers 2. I'm gonna buy that. People are having fun with that, and I'm gonna talk about Foam Stars. It's free. I'm not gonna have a lot to talk about, but it seems like something to try out. I think I'm gonna get Grand Blue Fantasy, so I'll talk about that. So there's so much other games I want to talk. I'm talking about Persona. This is not all next week, but coming up, I'm gonna talk about Persona 3 Reload. I have that. I want to play that. I'm going to talk about
that was good.
The new Prince of Persia. I have it. I haven't just played it yet. So there's a lot of games coming out or have come out that we're going to talk about, and Dory can spotlight any game she's playing and things like that. So
yep,
We got a lot of stuff.
I think Banishers will also be out by then. So if it gets decent to good reviews, I'll probably check that out. So I can probably
it comes
give
out this
impressions
month.
on that.
Yep. All right, you have a good night. Thanks for joining me, and peace.
Bye, everybody.